Welcome to Sacred Kingship, a new channel where we discuss the intersection between politics, theology, and history from an Orthodox perspective. Before we dive into anything else, there's one fundamental question to be answered. Why should Orthodox Christians care about politics? Some would want to draw a strict distinction between sacred and secular, arguing that politics is the realm of the latter. These critics would assert that Christians should have absolutely nothing to do with worldly politics. But is this the Orthodox perspective? I say no. This way of thinking strikes me as a form of Gnosticism, an attempt to treat material existence as fundamentally evil, putting all focus instead on spiritual realities. By contrast, the Orthodox worldview is focused on the incarnation of Christ. In it, God himself takes on human flesh and redeems our entire human nature, both soul and body. Human beings are not merely disembodied souls. Rather, we are integrated persons consisting of body and soul, which have been sanctified by Christ, and which will be resurrected again in glory. After the fall of man, it wasn't only our human nature that was corrupted. As Adam was the steward of the created world, all of creation fell with him. This once tranquil world was racked with disease, natural disasters, and death. The rebellious demons took habitation in this world, deceiving the nations into idolatrous pagan worship. Therefore, Christ's incarnation was a cosmic event, which redeemed not only our fallen human nature, but all of creation too. In his incarnation, Christ healed our wounds. He averted raging storms by his command. He combated the demons, driving them out with exorcism. He sanctified the waters of the Jordan, defeating the demons residing there. He raised the dead. When he was crucified, the earth quaked and the sun averted his gaze. When he returns, all of creation will be restored to its original glory, transfigured into the new heavens and the new earth. Orthodox Christianity, like all pre-modern religions, has an enchanted view of the world. The scriptures and our hymnology have innumerable references to this reality. Thus, while neither human beings or the world around us are divine in and of themselves, both are deeply infused with spiritual reality, and both are called to sanctification. The Orthodox worldview is a sacred worldview. We don't see a clear distinction between religion and politics, as if any aspect of our lives could be without spiritual significance. The attempt to compartmentalize different aspects of our life is a modern tendency born out of secular liberalism. As Orthodox Christians, we can't neatly separate our theology from the rest of our lives. We seek to acquire a worldview that's fully informed by Orthodox Christianity. But it's increasingly hard to recover that Orthodox worldview while living in these modern times. When we look around us, we don't see an Orthodox culture. Instead, we find ourselves in a radically post-Christian age. Our civilization is no longer Christian in any meaningful sense. Our world is held firmly under the sway of liberalism and other false ideologies. Many of us, even within the church, simply take these ideas for granted. This is understandable because from an early age, it's the air we breathe. Modern secular ideologies are often invisible to us because they're all we know. Our cultural institutions, including the media and public education, have thoroughly indoctrinated us from childhood. We need to rediscover the Orthodox theopolitical worldview. What is this worldview? Once found, how can we defend and preserve it? Blessed Father Seraphim Rose sought to do this in his Orthodox survival course, and I take great inspiration from him. That's the goal of my channel. I want to continue his work and that of his worthy successors, including Stephen Crawford. Some of you might be familiar with his channel Theopolitics. I was a huge fan of his. Unfortunately, his channel doesn't exist anymore, but I seek to continue his work here. There are some excellent podcasts and YouTube channels that focus strictly on Orthodox theology, but there appears to be a lack of channels that focus exclusively on history and politics from an Orthodox monarchist perspective. My hope is that this channel will help fill that gap. This channel will include everything from discussions of kingship to biographies of historical monarchs to book reviews to shorter topical videos and more. I will make videos covering various revolutions. I will also make videos critiquing alternative political philosophies like liberalism, socialism, and integralism from an Orthodox perspective. I also plan to bring people on for interviews, and I might even engage in some debates. If these topics interest you, please subscribe and stay tuned for more content in the future. Now, a little about me. My name is David, and I'm an Orthodox Christian from Michigan. I was raised in an Orthodox home, but growing up I was mostly apolitical. When I was in high school, one of my best friends was an atheist. He was one of those Reddit atheists who liked to poke fun at me for being a Christian. In response, I dove headfirst into Christian apologetics and I read many books on the subject. I was enamored with natural theology and with apologists like William Lane Craig. My aim was to defend a generic Christian theism, not the particulars of Orthodox Christianity. I implicitly believed that the particulars weren't all that important, and I idolized rationality. I was deeply concerned with appearing intellectually respectable. Without realizing it, I was prioritizing reason above revelation. Thus, I had a strong distaste for creationism. I believed that creationists were making Christianity appear foolish to unbelievers. I convinced myself that evolution is true and that it is reconcilable with the faith. I often found myself arguing with creationists online. Meanwhile, I was becoming more politically conscious. I've always considered abortion a grave evil, so I naturally aligned with conservatism. In time, I adopted other conservative values like American exceptionalism, free markets, and limited government. I was even a supporter of the State of Israel. In short, I was a standard issue American conservative. That all began to change in college. I developed a friendship with a classmate who was a creationist. This was the first time I recall meeting one in person, so I was ready to grill him with my apologetics. To my surprise, I was challenged with some thoughtful objections to theistic evolution that I hadn't fully considered before. Also, it struck me that he had a bachelor's degree in biology. He was well-spoken and incredibly smart. He didn't match my stereotype of what a creationist looked like. I didn't change my mind overnight, but he planted a lingering seed of doubt in my mind. In politics, he was a recovering conservative. He introduced me to post-liberal thought. Together, we read some books like Why Liberalism Failed by Patrick Deneen, and we were slowly becoming disillusioned with conservatism, which is really just a variant of liberalism. Around this time, I had a lapse in my spiritual life, which took me to a low point. When I came out of that slump, I realized I had spent most of my life orthodox in name only. Sure, I attended services and I strongly identified with my faith, but I hadn't been taking it seriously enough. I wasn't living an orthodox life. God knows I still have a lot of work to do, but I swore from that moment on to make it my priority. At this time, I discovered the writings of Father Seraphim Rose, and I fell in love with him. I observed that many of my ideas were contrary to traditional orthodoxy. Finally, I became a creationist, and this was a paradigm shift for me. I started to see the world with new eyes. As a result, I began to question other old beliefs. As a conservative, I implicitly believed that the Founding Fathers were the apex of political thought, and that everyone prior to them were irrelevant. This is fundamentally a progressive view of history, one that aligns well with the idea of evolution. Having rejected evolution, the next logical step was to reject this myth of historical progress. If the history of life isn't a progressive evolution from simple to complex, a history of continual improvement from lower to higher, then perhaps human history doesn't follow that pattern either. Maybe we aren't better than our ancestors. Far from exhibiting evolution or stasis, I saw that this fallen world exhibited signs of decay. In general, the pattern of historical development is devolution. In the same way that genetic mutations degenerate biological information, the history of language demonstrates the degeneration of the written and spoken word. If you doubt this, just compare Shakespeare with Cardi B. Empires are seen to rise and then decay. Human beings mature, then grow old and die. Our culture appeared to be decaying before my eyes. Maybe our ancestors, far from being our equals or beneath us, were better than us. Perhaps they had certain insights that we've lost. It was at this time that I began toying with the idea of monarchy. It was a natural transition because monarchy is essentially the ubiquitous form of government for all of human history. Furthermore, it was the preferred system of Father Seraphim Rose and nearly all the saints, having a long history in the Orthodox Church. This also came about in the year 2020, when COVID was challenging all of my former assumptions, and I had lots of time to read. At this time, I discovered theopolitics, and I began reading all the books Stephen was covering over there. Over the last 3 to 4 years, I've greatly refined my thinking, and that's how I developed the views that I hold today. Finally, a couple disclaimers. I'm not an expert in any of the fields that pertain to this channel. I'm not a professional historian, I have no formal training in theology, and I don't have any degrees in political philosophy. I'm just an Orthodox guy who loves reading about these things. By day, I'm an engineer, but it's my career, not my passion. My hope is that this channel will serve as an outlet for what I'm really passionate about. Hopefully, I can help others along the way too. Lastly, it goes without saying that I'm not an authority figure like a priest or a bishop. I have strong opinions, but I do not officially speak for the Orthodox Church. Nevertheless, I believe my views faithfully reflect those of the Orthodox Church, and I will always strive to represent the mind of the Church on these issues. Thank you for watching my first video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe. And share this video with anyone you know who might be interested in this content. With that, I'll see you guys next time.